Sensory overload is a common experience for individuals with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. It happens when the brain gets overwhelmed by too much sensory information. Our senses like sight, sound, touch, smell and taste send signals to our brains. Sometimes the brain has trouble processing all these signals at once. This can be very stressful and uncomfortable. Imagine a busy street with cars honking, lights flashing and people talking loudly. For someone with ASD, this can be like a sensory traffic jam. The brain struggles to filter out the important information from the background noise. This can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed, anxious, and even physically unwell. Sensory overload is different for everyone with ASD. Some people are sensitive to loud noises, while others may be bothered by bright lights or certain textures. It's important to remember that sensory sensitivities are not a choice. They are a real and often debilitating part of living with ASD. Understanding sensory overload is crucial for supporting individuals with ASD. By learning about their triggers and recognizing the signs, we can create environments that are more sensory friendly and supportive. This can make a huge difference in their daily lives, helping them to feel calmer, safer, and more able to engage with the world around them. Sensory triggers are things in the environment that cause sensory overload in individuals with ASD. These triggers vary greatly from person to person. What bothers one person might not bother another at all. Visual triggers like bright lights, flickering lights, busy patterns and crowded spaces can be overwhelming for some individuals with ASD. Imagine being in a room with fluorescent lights that hum loudly. The constant flickering can be very distracting and difficult to ignore. Auditory triggers such as loud noises, sudden noises, high-pitched sounds and multiple conversations happening at once can be particularly challenging. Think about the sound of a fire alarm going off. For someone with auditory sensitivities, this can be physically painful and very upsetting. Tactile triggers include certain textures like scratchy clothing or light touch, which can be very uncomfortable. It's like having a tag on the back of your shirt that constantly irritates your skin. You can't ignore it, and it makes it hard to focus on anything else. Olfactory triggers involve strong smells like perfumes, cleaning products, or even certain foods, which can be overwhelming and even nauseating. Imagine walking into a room that smells strongly of air freshener. The smell might be pleasant to some, but for someone with olfactory sensitivities, it can be overpowering and induce a headache. Gustatory triggers mean that some individuals with ASD have strong reactions to certain tastes and textures of food. Imagine trying a new food with a strong, unfamiliar flavor. The taste might be unpleasant, leading to a refusal to eat and potential anxiety around mealtimes. Recognizing sensory overload in individuals with ASD is essential for providing timely support and preventing more severe reactions. While signs vary, some common indicators include emotional responses such as anxiety, irritability, frustration and agitation are common emotional responses to sensory overload. The individual may become easily overwhelmed, quick to anger or withdrawn and tearful. Physical reactions can manifest as headaches, stomach aches, dizziness, sweating and increased heart rate. It's like the body's fight or flight response is triggered by the sensory input. Behavioral indicators include behaviors like covering their ears, rocking, flapping their hands, pacing or repeating words or phrases. These behaviors are often attempts to self-regulate and cope with the overwhelming sensory input. Changes in communication can also occur. During sensory overload, individuals might have difficulty processing language, responding to questions, or following instructions. They may become non-verbal, use fewer words than usual, or have trouble understanding what others are saying. It's important to remember that everyone experiences and expresses sensory overload differently. What might be a minor annoyance for one person could be a major trigger for another.